bleaching is caused by increased UV radiation and temperature change, which could be hot or cold. The temperature is the main reason because the algae becomes too toxic to the coral if the temperature increases. So the coral expels them, which causes them to starve and die. The symbiotic relationship between the coral and algae is mutualism. The algae is a food source and the coral shields them. Without the other, they would not survive. All the color comes from the algae, so if the algae is expelled, then the coral turns white. Ocean acidification. It lowers the ocean's pH, which causes stress to the coral, making it unable to adapt quickly to the changing environment, which causes coral bleaching. The pH makes it hard for the coral to grow, and if it's too acidic, they'll dissolve. Overfishing. It is a mutualistic relationship between the fish and the coral reef. It can lead to algae overgrowth if there is no fish to keep the algae in check. It can cause stress, which will eventually lead to coral bleaching and make them vulnerable. Sedimentation. From rainfall or storms, it creates a lot of sediment and pollutants that smother the corals, increasing the chances of diseases. Flooding is similar to sedimentation, so it can disrupt the balance of the coral reef ecosystems and increase the amount of crown of thorns starfish, which eats coral.
Coral reefs were once vibrant, full of biodiversity, and are currently recognized as one of the 7 wonders of the world. However, as recently as 1988, mass bleaching events have been occurring, 4 in the past 25 years. Factors that have spiked during this time period include intense heat surges and pollution. In the image shown, you can see how coral changes over time, and thanks to Bella's explanation on the science behind it, we understand how the symbiotic relationship with the algae removes its vibrancy and protective casing, leaving just the coral skeleton. As you can see, from past to present, it has significantly gotten worse. What we can expect our future reefs to look like is murky waters with little to no remains of coral, and increased pollution and runoff. By 2050, the reality of losing over 90% of our reefs has a high chance of being true. Coral bleaching is slightly natural, as it comes also locally with disease, storms, and salinity changes. But the amount of coral bleaching that we have currently isn't natural. Our pollution, runoff, and releasing of fossil fuels has been increasing the ocean temperature. To prevent this, we have to reduce carbon emissions and plant more trees in order to take in the millions of greenhouse gases that are currently released in our atmosphere right now. Alongside that, preventing how much pollution and runoff we have from our overconsumption of goods and incorrect disposal of waste.
Humanity's biggest impact on coral bleaching, the main cause, is the release of greenhouse gases through various means, those being deforestation, the burning of fossil fuels, industrial processes, transportation, agriculture, and soil degradation. Pollution also has a massive effect on coral, such as contaminating coral reefs, reducing the amount of sunlight they receive, and damaging them in general. The pollution types include runoff, fertilizers, chemicals, sediments, and plastic. Coral reefs can also be physically damaged by ignorant fishing practices, such as bottom trawling and fishing nets and traps. Coral reefs provide shorelines with protection from powerful waves and extreme weather. Erosion would occur frequently without the reefs, pushing those who live on the coast out of their homes. 200 million people rely on this protective feature to safeguard them from storms. Building walls ourselves would cost trillions of dollars. They also provide shelter, food, and spawning grounds for 25% of all marine life. Without them, over 1 million species will perish. The disappearance of these species will also affect many others. They also support fishing industries. Coral reefs have a lot of fish. Pretty crazy, huh? And 1 billion people worldwide depend on coral reefs for food. Hundreds of millions of people will lose their jobs and or their source of food. This would also put pressure on land-based farming, who would have to make up for the loss of resources. Coral reefs don't just rake in fish, they also rake in stacks on stacks on stacks of dough, $36 billion of it through tourism. Numbers would fall significantly without these reefs. It would also affect businesses that rely on tourism of reefs to stay afloat. New medicine to treat diseases and ailments like cancer, arthritis, Alzheimer's, and heart disease relies on scientists' ability to research the chemical defenses of coral reefs. Animals and other plants in those reefs hold the key to new treatments as well.
Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, protecting coral habitats, promoting marine protected areas, implementing coral restoration projects, and using reef-safe sunscreens are all potential solutions to coral bleaching. For example, through intervention, replanting techniques can bring back degraded coral reefs. Implementing coral restoration projects could lead to improved reef health, an increase in biodiversity, enhanced coastal protection, and economic benefits. But if we really want to solve the coral bleaching problem, we must address climate change.